All right, now into arrays. Here's another one that I just had to do off camera, but we'll walk through this together. Again, by all means, please type this out. Don't just copy paste. It helps. Trust me, it helps a lot, and play with this. Let's get into this. Arrays are basically, you want to set a variable, but have multiple values inside that variable. Essentially, it's a container. It's a bucket. What do you want to chuck into it, right? You can have a bunch of different things in a bucket or a bunch of different things in a box. That's what an array is. And it allows you to organize that mess though. Kind of more like a filing cabinet than a bucket, I guess, if you really want to think about it that way. So let's look at building our first example. So here it says var a, 5 init, blah, 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 print line. What does that mean? Well, let's look at how I typed it out here. Var array example 1. So we're building our array over here. We're saying we're building 5 indexes in this array. So with an array, you have to have a fixed size. You want so many indexes in there, and you want to make it big enough to where you could fit those things that you need in. So if you have 20 things, you want to make an array of 20 for an example. And then print line empty array, and it's calling that variable array example 1 that I built here. So when I did that, it shows empty array and then the 5 indexes. Now what's interesting here is in the next example, we're going to take this array example 1 that we built. We're going to add the number 100 in index 4. Now you notice when we did this, down here you might be looking, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5. Why would they put the 100 here on the far end? Why wouldn't it be here? Well, with indexes in arrays, you always start at 0. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you need to remember that when you're looking at these, that the array size, it always starts, the first index is going to be 0 and start counting from there. So when we see the entire set, that's why we see this 100 over here on the far right. And when we pull the number 4 index, we're getting that last index at 100. So we could change this to whatever we wanted to. If we wanted, now this is all going to be integers, so we can only put numbers in here. But if we put 2000, we would see 2000 down here. Let's play with this a little more. Let's grab this. And we're going to say array 3, and we're going to put 120 in here. Why not? Now, if we just copy this whole line, we say 3 here, and we change this to 3. We save it. Clear our output so we have a clean terminal and run this. Now we're going to see array index 3, and we see this 3 is right here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's something you got to get used to when it comes to programming, is you typically start counting at 0, not at 1. So your school math teacher was wrong. You always start with 0, even though it's nothing. That's the number 1. Okay, so last line we're saying what size is the array, and we're using this len expression. So this is actually a built-in function within Go. And what it's doing is it's saying, okay, I want to know how many indexes are in this array. And that's why down here we get 5. In their example, again, they're just using the letter A as a variable, but we named it something better, array example 1. Now our next part, array example 2. This we're also building as a 5 indexed array, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we're counting just like our math teacher did back in school instead of with 0. But you get the idea. If we're actually calling these indexes, we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But in this view, we're going to say, okay, we want to view the array. So down here, we're just printing the entire array off, and it's going to give us that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next portion is we're going to break this up into 2 cells. So here we built the array all in one line, whereas up here we built the array, didn't put anything in it until down here. This example, we're putting everything in one line. So just know that you can do that. That's really all this is teaching you. Now down here, we're getting into some weird looking stuff, right? var 2 cells. We have a 2 and a 3, and they're both integers. So what are we doing with these? Well, essentially what we're doing is we're saying, okay, 2, if I is less than 2, I want you to keep adding. On 3, if 3 is less than 3, keep counting. Then we want you to take those 2 cells and we want you to put them together. And that's when we have our 2 cells output. It starts 0, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and 3. Both starting in 0. We see the differences because we're only wanting to view 3 numbers, and that's why we're getting that output. So we could see here with arrays, they're very functional, very handy, very powerful ways to organize your data. And you can use them in a lot of different ways, but they're always going to be a fixed size. All right, now let's start breaking arrays up, and we'll call that slices.